Alright, today we need to talk about Tottenham Hotspur. Right then, it's been a pretty fabulous last month for Spurs, hasn't it? First and foremost, they've made the top four and the Champions League. Then they got a £150 million cash injection. And then this week, we saw headlines like this stating that Antonio Conte was going to be staying at the club. Because let's face it, before that, yeah. So what better time to continue our stay or go series? We've already done one with Arsenal, Manchester United and Newcastle. Now we're going to be doing one with Antonio Conte's Tottenham Hotspur. It's very, very simple. In front of me here, I've got 28 members of Tottenham's squad. Keep, sell, loan, contract, exit. You know the story by now. Let's crack on. We'll start with the club captain then, Hugo Lloris. He's going straight in the keep column. He is 35 now and kind of middle of the pack around sort of Kasper Schmeichel levels by post-shot expected goals this season. But you know what? He's incredibly influential in the dressing room. Conte loves experience. He's got to be kept. We've got Galini up next then. Obviously, he was only on loan from Atalanta. I wouldn't be making that one permanent. I think just send him back. It hasn't really worked, has it? I think Fraser Forster's going to be coming through the door as a free transfer, as a homegrown player. Contract exit. Brandon Austin's up next then. Third choice keeper. Behind Fraser Forster probably. May as well just stick him in keep. 23 years old. Let's not waste any time on the keepers. The reason I say let's not waste too much time on the keepers is because I think the fullbacks is one of the most difficult areas for Tottenham Hotspur. Now, they're obviously going to recruit multiple fullbacks this summer. We've already seen Ivan Perisic come through the door. He's probably going to operate on the left in that wing-back role. I think Conte's going to want to sign a right wing-back as well, to be honest with you. So these two names here, Matt Doherty and Emerson, it's difficult, isn't it? Because Matt Doherty actually looked really revitalised under Antonio Conte. Finally, he was going to be playing in a wing-back system. I think he put up something like 4 goal involvements or 5 goal involvements in 3 games. Looked really solid. And then he got injured. I do think, though, he will be kept. He's under contract till 2024. And I think he's a fine backup option for Antonio Conte. Emerson Royal is younger. He's got a longer term contract. They paid a bigger fee when he came in from Barcelona. Oh, I'm just massively unconvinced. So I kind of want to put him in sell. It feels harsh though because he's still only 23 and he's under contract till 2026. Do you know what? What I think I would do is loan him, but maybe back to Spain and see if he has a really good season. Could he come back? If he has a really, really good season, will it increase his value? And then I would look to either sell him or keep him, make a decision next year where Matt Doherty is a year older. Could he play understudy? I think loan him for a season, back to Spain. If it does work, either keep him or sell him then. Likewise, at left wing back, we've also got a bit of a problem here in this squad, haven't we? Because Perisic has joined. That medical happened this week. Sessegnon and Reguilon, one of them's got to go, I'm afraid. And for me, it should be Sergi Reguilon. I just don't think he works for Antonio Conte. I think he's a little bit reckless going forward. I think he's a better left back than he is left wing back. Don't think he's positionally great defensively, which doesn't help Antonio Conte, does he? Who wants a very rigid system. And Ryan Sessegnon is probably a better understudy. He's still a little bit younger, and I actually thought he was progressing and looking more confident in that left wing back role. I think Reguilon will be a fine pickup for somebody as a left back, but I just don't think it works for Conte. And I think I asked a couple Spurs fans about this, and they weren't too kind. One of my friends who is a Tottenham Hotspur season ticket holder, I'll put his messages on screen. I have to blur a couple of them, and I'll blur his name as well. But, you know, I said, what do you think of him over Sessegnon? What's the reasons that you would pick Sessegnon to stay and Reguilon to go? He just put, he's in crap. Conte doesn't like him at all. No positional sense. Can't defend, can't attack. It's harsh, but he's not the only Tottenham fan I spoke to that has a similar sentiment. Also, I couldn't believe this one. I saw this on Who Scored yesterday. Ryan Sessegnon created a clear-cut goal-scoring chance more frequently than Phil Foden, Mount, James, Bukayo Saka, Jack Grealish in the Premier League this season. Now, obviously, that's because he played more limited minutes, but I do think, you know, it's a sign of progression for him at Tottenham, isn't it? He hasn't had a great start to his career there, but he is still only 22. I think I'd keep him over Reguilon as well. We've got Davinson Sanchez and Joe Rodon up next, and this is almost like another little head-to-head battle for like the 4th or 5th choice spot in centre-back, which is quite a key role for Antonio Conte because, of course, he plays 3 central defenders at all times, doesn't he? And I have to say, I think I'm going to side with Davinson Sanchez on this one. I think it's 1,600 minutes this season, and for me, there's still a defender in there somewhere. He just needs to improve his concentration a little bit. And I think Antonio Conte has spoken about that in the past. I'm sure that he will be very interested in getting a pre-season with Davinson Sanchez under his belt. Whereas Joe Rodon, I feel like if it was going to have happened, it would have happened by now. I could have said the same for Sanchez. These two's very close. Very, very close. This could be a loan. But he is 24 now. Somewhere between here. Do you know what? I'm going to be super ruthless. I'm going to sell him. Japhet Tanganga could also probably benefit from a loan. But because Conte needs so many centre-backs at his disposal, I can't just keep letting people go. I'm going to put Tanganga in the keep column. I also want him to get a pre-season under his belt with Conte. If we get to the start of the season and he hasn't featured in any of the pre-season games, Conte's just not fancying him, then I would loan him. Ben Davies would have definitely been in the sell column pre-Conte, wouldn't he? But now I think he's a definite keep. His stats across the board have pretty much doubled since Antonio Conte's come in, played him in that left central defensive slot. I don't know what he's been feeding him, but it's superb. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's an upgradable area for Tottenham Hotspur, and I'm pretty sure the club will be looking for a left-sided central defender, but Ben Davies' cover in there, absolutely fine. He can also operate as a left-back / left wing-back, not ideally, but if needed, it could happen. Definite keep now for me. Eric Dier, 28 years old now, he's under contract till 2024. Bit of a running meme online, isn't he? Particularly in the football Twitter community, but what a load of nonsense that is. I think he's been behind Kane and Son, behind maybe Kulusevski as well. I think he's been one of their players of the year. When you put him into an Antonio Conte side, and you know, they are going to defend a little bit deeper, they are going to need warriors, they're going to need people to put bodies on the line, that's where Dier really thrives, and I think that's probably one of the reasons Jose wanted to take him to Manchester United back in the day. Again, I wouldn't be totally averse to finding an upgrade somewhere in the market, but I think he's more than good enough to be kept. We won't even bother messing around with Christian Romero. He's one of their best players. A fabulous defender. Fits perfectly in Conte's 3 at the back system. Super aggressive and obvious keep. Cameron Carter-Vickers then, he's 24 now, and you know he's on contract till 2023. I think this is the summer to sell him. Celtic are very interested. If you can get £5-6 million after that successful loan spell, then it's just a win-win for all parties. Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg is up next. A definite keep for me. Really underrated in the midfield. And he's put up the 3rd most minutes in the Tottenham squad behind Kane and Lloris. And the best trait in football is availability. And he's got it in abundance. And that's not to disrespect Hojbjerg either, because most passes into the final third, most progressive passes, 3rd most shot-creating actions, most tackles, most interceptions, most blocks, 3rd highest successful dribble percentage, 3rd most progressive carries in the squad. Such an important cog in this Conte side. Maybe bordering on underrated at this stage. Harry Winks is up next then, and he's a definite seller. For me, look, it's time for both parties to go in their separate directions. I don't think he works in Antonio Conte's side. I think it's been a bit stagnant for him at Tottenham for quite some time now. And if you can get anything above £10 million, I think it's pretty much a win-win. I've seen £20 million kind of touted to some Premier League clubs like Fulham, and I also saw him linked with Sevilla this week, which would be a bit of a surprising move, but it would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree on this one's a sell. Ollie Skip, obviously contract till 2027 now, just signed that, I think, behind Kulusevski, probably Young Player of the Year at Tottenham Hotspur. Just got injured at the wrong time, didn't he? Because he was really starting to make some strides, so it'd be good to see what he can do in pre-season, because he does look a bit of a fabulous player, Ollie Skip. Rodrigo Bentancur, obviously a keep. Can't believe how well he's hit the ground running. I think 5th in the squad for shot creating actions, 5th for pressures. He's only been here 5 months. Incredible dynamism, real workhorse off and on the ball. Him and Hojbjerg complement each other really well. I think they will look to add another central midfielder this summer, but you know, I really like Rodrigo Bentancur, and there are a couple of midfielders coming up that are definitely being shipped. Now, I don't want to slice the Tottenham midfield apart too much, but I feel like I've got to be ruthless. At the moment, I'm leaving them with only 3 central midfielders. So they are going to have to sign 1, maybe 2, because Lo Celso and Ndombele have got to go. Lo Celso, of course, they paid an initial loan fee of like £15 million plus £25 million on top to make that permanent. It's not worked at all. He's had an alright time at Villarreal. I think it's pretty clear that Villarreal want to keep him on a permanent deal. Unai Emery likes him an awful lot. Can they afford to do it? Let's wait and see. I think they're looking in the region of €20 million to get that deal done. Ndombele, again, a different prospect. Don't think Lyon wants him back at all. He's come back to Tottenham. I've read reports saying that he's going to be training on his own in pre-season. He's a hard man to find a buyer for. He's the second highest earner at Tottenham Hotspur. He's on 200 grand a week. It's not going to be easy to shift that, I'm telling you now. But you've got to find a way. Pape Sarr, obviously he was only on loan. I would just loan him again. I think he went to Metz, didn't he? And they went down, but he did put up, fairly significant minutes. I just think try and find him a better team in Ligue 1 or maybe even a championship side to loan to because he's still only 19. It's one of the obvious loans, isn't it? He's under contract until 2026. We won't even bother wasting time talking about the next two, Kane and Son. Obvious keeps, the two best players in the squad. And that brings us to Bergwijn. This is a difficult one because I think if you asked a lot of Tottenham fans, they would kind of want to keep him. But if, funds maybe need to be raised in order to buy another forward or buy another midfielder or buy a centre-back, and Ajax come in at €25 million, I think I'm saying goodbye. I'm sure he'd actually be a pretty decent signing for Ajax. In over 500 minutes this season, 3 goals, 1 assist. He's made some crucial moments happen for Tottenham this season. Some late goals. Him or Moura. I just think you get a bigger fee for Bergwijn than Moura, so I keep Moura and I would sell Steven Bergwijn. And by the way, I don't want to disrespect Moura in that moment either by saying it's kind of a toss-up because I think he's a really influential figure in the dressing room. Whenever I go to Tottenham Hotspur, he's always laughing, he's always joking. Everybody there loves him. He's 4th in the squad for expected assists. He's 3rd for expected goals. He's got up there 3rd or 4th for shot-creating actions, dribbles, progressive carries. He's a fine impact player. Probably not a starter now that Kulusevski has come into the side, but a fine squad player. I've just realised I don't have Kulusevski's little icon thing here, but obviously he would be going in the keep, wouldn't it? There's not really much point discussing Kulusevski. He's that good. Dane Scarlett, let's get him a loan. I think it's time, isn't it? Was it 3 Premier League minutes this season? Didn't get his loan move. He's been playing in the youth teams mainly because he is still only 18 years old, but he's got that contract now. Locked in. Let's get him a loan move to either the Championship or League One. Bryan Gil is a difficult one because when he left Spain, so highly rated. Brilliant season at Eibar, of course. They got him in that deal with Sevilla. And I wonder now that Antonio Conte's there, whether he would almost have preferred Eric Lamela to Bryan Gil. I've spoken about how talented Bryan Gil is, but, signing players isn't just based on talent. You need to look at their adaptability and fit for the league, and maybe that Bryan Gil's physicality doesn't fit the Premier League. I think in the long term, he's going to be a lot better than Eric Lamela, but I don't think the fit's quite there. He's still so young, so let's get him another loan move. There's something about Gil and Conte, I'm not sure it's simpatico. Finally, we've got Jack Clarke. That's just not worked, is it? Since joining from Leeds. I think it's time to sell him because his contract's up in 2023. Returned from that loan at Sunderland. Yeah, it's just not worked. Maybe it is time to sell him, see what money you can get from a championship side. It's a bit of a shame because when he arrived, he had such a huge reputation, but I don't see any world in which Conte chooses to utilise him this coming season. I also don't see a world where they loan him out in the final year of his contract. So, to me, that probably suggests it's going to be a sell. Alright, so that was my list of keep, sell, loan, contract, exit. Also add Kulusevski in there because like a plonker, I totally forgot to do it. I've been pretty ruthless, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at this keep column now. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3 central midfielders and 1, 2, 3 forwards. There's a lot of work to be done in the transfer market, but I've seen Antonio Conte promised upwards of 6 players. Fraser Forster's already through the door. Perisic is already through the door. I think they'll go for 2 central midfielders, a centre-back, and maybe another forward. It's a big summer. It's a big summer for Tottenham. But Spurs fans, I want to hear from you in the comments below. What do you make of my list? Is there any you disagree with or agree with? Also, if you did enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. See you later. Bye.